Losing sponsors, the big companies pulling out of the popular show 19 Kids and Counting after one of the stars admits to sexual assault.
Also, remembering a hero, how some people are honoring the fallen officer killed in the line of duty in Rio Rancho.
And overnight fire, crews called to an APS building complex, what firefighters found when they arrived. Morning, everybody. Welcome to KRQE News 13 this morning. I'm Adam Atchison.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Krista Gutierrez. Today is Wednesday, May 27th. We'll get to those stories in just a moment. But first, we're going to get you ready for your day. We've got some changes heading our way as well.
Sure do. It feels a whole lot warmer out there than it did yesterday morning at this time. Let's get to Kristen Curry and find out what she's talking about.
Good morning, guys. Yes, warmer temperatures to start today and to end today. Let's go ahead and start, though, with a look at the satellite radar. We have a few lingering showers over the northern mountains. It's not a lot. Really, the mostly to partly cloudy skies are filling in across the majority of the state. We even have some fog plaguing the Lee County area right now. Hobbs, you're down to 1 mile when it comes to the visibility, so give yourself some time as you're on your way into work or school. Now, current temperatures are fine, 40s and 50s for most of northern New Mexico, but you'll notice the 50s and 60s filling into the south. Here's what we're talking about today. Warmer temperatures statewide, spotty showers to the north, but a better shot of some storms and rain showers moving in for this weekend. We'll have more details on that full 7-day forecast coming up here in about 10 minutes.
And we begin this morning with some overnight news. A little after midnight, a fire broke out on APS property near 2nd and Manal. Crews this morning worked to quickly put out that fire that sparked in one of the buildings inside the Stronghurst Complex Region office. Campus police also showed up while our crews were there. We did make a call to AFD, but have not heard back yet. It's unclear how that fire started. We will continue to update you on the story on air and, of course, on our KRQE News app. It's been an emotional few days for the Rio Rancho Police Department. This morning will be no different.
All of this after one of their officers, Greg Benner, was killed after a traffic stop gone wrong. This happened about 8 Monday night when Officer Benner pulled over a Dodge Durango, police say, near Southern and Pine Tree. According to officers inside, a woman in the driver's seat, and on the passenger side, a career criminal, Andrew Romero. After Benner talked with them, the pair tried to drive away. After a short pursuit through the parking lot, the car stopped, and police say Benner got out and walked up to the driver's side window, and that's when police say Romero reached around the woman and shot at least 3 times. Officer Benner never had a chance, they say.
It appears he was maybe making an attempt to draw his weapon as he was getting hit. He did not have his weapon out.
Investigators say that Romero, who had a warrant out for his arrest for armed robbery, kicked the driver out and drove off. Romero was caught around 4 yesterday morning after police watched Romero and 2 others rob a South Valley gas station. As for the woman who was in that vehicle, she's been detained as a witness.
And this morning we are learning more about Officer Benner, the officer who was also a husband, father, and grandfather. Last night, hundreds packed Haynes Park in Rio Rancho for a candlelight vigil. The 49-year-old leaves behind a wife, 5 children, and a grandson. Officer Greg Nigel Benner also served 20-plus years in the U.S. Air Force. After that, Benner then started a new career with the Rio Rancho Police. That was about 4 years ago. He touched so many lives. Coming up in our next half hour, we'll hear from those who are still in shock over this entire ordeal.
Now, as for the man accused of killing Officer Benner, Romero was also wanted in a long list of other serious crimes. 10 years ago, he was charged with voluntary manslaughter for a gang-related shooting. That was at this South Valley apartment. He did serve time behind bars and then made the news again in 2010 after shoplifting at an Albuquerque Walmart. A worker there died of a heart attack after a struggle with Romero. And coming up in our next half hour, we're going to tell you what charges he now faces and why some say Romero should never have been let out to begin with.
And the support for Officer Benner continues on social media. All morning long, you've been sending your condolences for the fallen officer over on our Facebook page. Mandy C. says, we support our lost officer, his family, and Rio Rancho PD. Many of you have also mentioned how beautiful the turnout was, like Ronaldo R., who says, all of New Mexico is mourning today. Daniela V. sends her deepest condolences to this family as well, while Danielle R. posted a pic with the hashtag Rio Rancho Strong. Nationally, people around the world will pay their respects by shining a light on the porch for Officer Benner. That takes place on June 7th. We had some viewers post that over on our KRQE Facebook page as well.
Neat tributes there. 605, a memorial is now forming where Officer Benner was gunned down. People are dropping off flowers, flags, and cards, and even small police cars to pay their respects.
Rio Rancho is a small community, and we're close-knit, and when something like this happens, it just affects everybody, and it's just, it's not fair. It's not fair when it happens anywhere in the country, but when it hits home like this, it's just really hard to swallow.
Stay with News 13 for continuing coverage of Officer Benner's death. You can find up-to-the-minute information on our KRQE News app today.
We turn now to this. An Albuquerque police officers on paid leave this morning after shooting at a suspect. It happened Monday night near Indian School in Rio Grande. Police were investigating reports of a stolen car at a nearby apartment complex. APD says the driver of that car would not listen to police. An officer then opened fire more than once on the car. There were also two women and a child inside. The driver fled, T-boned a truck nearby, then took off again, leaving the women and child behind. No one was hurt, luckily, in all of this. Police are still searching for the suspect this morning.
There's new information about what may have contributed to the crash of a crane in Albuquerque. Police now say the legs were not stabilized. 56-year-old Ken Raschik and his 12-year-old nephew were both killed when it fell to the ground on Sunday. Raschik's 7-year-old son and their 10-year-old neighbor remain in critical condition. His 10-year-old son is said to be doing okay. Police say Raschik was giving the children a ride when a gust of wind caused that crane to fall nearly 40 feet.
We turn now to this. A little break today for some, but people in Texas and Oklahoma are bracing for another round of severe storms really soon. It gives them little time to clean up. Video shows how fierce the floodwaters were in Texas as the waters receded in one part of Houston. As you can see right there, a casket that had been unearthed was left behind. While the rain is stopping for some areas, Texas Governor Greg Abbott is warning residents that floodwaters are still rising in others. The search continues for about a dozen people who disappeared during the floods. The death toll due to the storms now stands at least 17 for both Texas and Oklahoma. And help from across the nation is now heading into flood-ravaged areas, including volunteers from New Mexico.
Yeah, New Mexico Red Cross workers are already on the ground. News 13's Catherine Mazzone got in touch with one of the volunteers from Espanola to see how they're helping, and she's in the newsroom right now with more. Catherine?
That's right, Adam. These people are incredibly busy, assessing damages, unloading materials, and just helping out where they're needed. I was able to catch up with one volunteer as she traveled from Wichita Falls, Texas, to where she's needed next. She tells me it's a demanding job, but it's worth it.
This, to me, is really awesome to be able to be out with people from all over America doing what America knows best, to help other people.
Nancy Gardner says she's been on multiple deployments with the Red Cross. She says she couldn't tell us exactly what she saw due to privacy issues, but she did say what it's like to be on the ground with those most affected by these floodwaters. Gardner tells me as a volunteer, she has to be flexible, ready to take on any job she's assigned to.
A group of us, even the supervisors over here, had to unload 10 cases, 10 pallets of cleanup kits, and we didn't have a pallet mover and nothing. So here it is, the semi comes in and we just pitch in and get it done.
Now again, the flooding in Texas and Oklahoma has killed 17 people, with 40 more still missing. Adam, back to you.
Catherine, thanks. We're going to tell you what the reaction's been like from Texans and also what it's like for Gardner to represent New Mexico coming up in our next half hour. Meantime, developing now, 4 major advertisers are pulling their sponsorship from the reality show 19 Kids and Counting. That includes General Mills and Walgreens. It comes after one of the family members, Josh Duggar, admitted to molesting several girls, including some of his siblings, when he was 14. Though TLC has suspended all episodes of the show, it's not known if it will be officially canceled.
A lot of people are still talking about that.
I know, been big nationwide news.
Explosive argument. What led up to a man pulling a gun on another in a neighborhood? And it was all caught on camera.
And supporting flood victims, how New Mexicans are helping people who've lost so much in devastating flooding across Texas recover.
Also,
It's kind of hard to talk about somebody that you know personally. I feel bad for his family.
remembering
So
a
bad.
hero as the community mourns over the loss of one of their own. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to KRQE News 13 this morning. I'm Krista Gutierrez.
I'm Adam Atchison, starting on Wednesday, May 27th. The day's top stories coming up in a moment. Let's get right over to the forecast with Kristen Curry.
Thank you. We'll start with a look at that algae report. Everything down to low for today, so you're not going to run into any problems there. Temperatures this morning actually mild for a good number of us. We were warm yesterday. That helped keep those overnight numbers a little warmer. 55 right now in Clovis. Tucumcari about 59, and here in the Duke City we're sitting at 58. You'll find cooler temperatures across the northwest in the 40s. When it comes to the afternoon highs, we'll jump into the 80s today. That 83 degrees is right where we should be for this time of year, and we'll be right at about average for the next few days. Now, showers are still possible over the northern mountains today. A lot better rain chances heading into tomorrow. More details on that forecast coming up.
We turn now to this information just into our newsroom, new and developing now. Albuquerque police had to block off I-40 from Lomas to Tramway overnight, this after a reported armed carjacking. Our crews were out there early this morning, and when we arrived, those roads had just reopened. Sources say it started with a carjacking, and that was near Montgomery and San Mateo. That person crashed on Eubank near the Los Altos skate park before taking off on foot. Sources also say that suspect had a rifle with them. I-40, as I mentioned, was shut down around 3 this morning. That road's since been reopened. We have updates now on the KRQE News app.
We turn now to this.
And amazing support from all his brothers in blue, and to all our family and to myself. Thank you so much.
Let's pray.
The community's in mourning as loved ones, friends, and neighbors gathered last night to remember the life of a Rio Rancho police officer who was killed in the line of duty there. That was Officer Greg Benner's wife speaking at the vigil last night, where emotions really ran high at Haynes Park in Rio Rancho last night.
Yeah, the 49-year-old officer left behind a wife, 5 children, a grandson, 2 more grandkids on the way. After 20-plus years serving in the U.S. Air Force, Benner started a new career with the Rio Rancho Police 4 years ago. People in law enforcement that we spoke with say Benner made a lasting impact. We do know that it was just a few miles away where that candlelight vigil was held from where the whole thing unfolded in the first place.
It's just tough being an officer and knowing, what sacrifice Officer Brenner made.
It's kind of hard to talk about somebody that you know personally. I feel bad for his family. So bad.
It's still a very emotional day today. As you can see from the candlelight vigil, a lot of people paying their respects for the fallen officer. So where this all unfolded, it only happened a few miles away. It happened around 8 o'clock Monday night when Officer Greg Benner pulled over a Dodge Durango near Southern and Pine Tree. Police say inside was a woman in the driver's seat. In the passenger seat was career criminal Andrew Romero. After Benner talked to them, the pair then tried to drive off. After a short pursuit, though, through the parking lot, the car finally did stop. Police say Benner, that's when he got out, walked up to the driver's window, and that's when they say Romero reached around the woman and shot at least 3 times. They say Officer Benner never had a chance.
It appears he was maybe making an attempt to draw his weapon as he was getting hit. He did not have his weapon out. He was transported to UNMH Hospital at the emergency room, where he subsequently succumbed to his wounds.
So investigators say Romero, who had a warrant out for his arrest for armed robberies, kicked the driver out, then fled. Romero was caught around 4 yesterday morning after police watched him and 2 others rob a South Valley gas station. As for the woman who was in the car, she's been detained as a witness.
A makeshift memorial is now set up at the spot where Officer Benner was gunned down, dropping off flowers, cards. Folks are even putting small police cars there.
Rio Rancho is a small community and we're close-knit, and when something like this happens, it just affects everybody, and it's just, it's not fair. It's not fair when it happens anywhere in the country, but when it hits home like this, it's just really hard to swallow.
And this morning, bystanders who jumped into action to try and save Officer Benner until backup did arrive are being hailed as heroes. This is what the chief said yesterday.
Those people are definitely heroes in our eyes. The efforts at the scene were amazing. It was unfortunate that the injuries were so severe.
The man accused of killing Officer Benner is also wanted in a long list of other serious crimes. 10 years ago, Andrew Romero was charged with voluntary manslaughter for a gang-related shooting at this South Valley apartment. He served time behind bars and made the news again in 2010 after shoplifting at an Albuquerque Walmart. A worker there died of a heart attack after a struggle with Romero. Then he served more than a year in jail for an armed robbery in January last year and 5 years probation. Police say he violated probation a few months ago. He was wanted for armed robbery, hitting 8 stores throughout Albuquerque within about 2.5 weeks.
It doesn't make any sense to us sometimes when these people are still out and about.
We did reach out to District Court Judge Stan Whitaker, who handled Romero's last case, to ask why he didn't pass down a harsher sentence. The judge refused to comment. Here are some facts on what Romero could now face if convicted of killing Officer Benner. It could be a life sentence without parole for killing a police officer. He's also facing federal charges because police say he had a gun and robbed a store.
And as we told you yesterday morning, this is the first time an officer has been shot and killed in the line of duty in the Rio Rancho Police Department's history. 2 other officers have died while on duty in crashes, though. Just last year, Officer Anthony Haas rolled his patrol car while heading to a call. 8 years ago, Officer Jermaine Casey was killed in a crash at the Sunport. Casey was serving in President Bush's motorcade. Meanwhile, police officers from around the nation are paying their respects to Officer Benner. The Officer Down Memorial page has posts from New York to Los Angeles with comments including "Your sacrifice will never be forgotten."
If you'd like to help Officer Benner's family, the police union set up a memorial fund, and you can donate at any Wells Fargo. The city also ordered flags to be flown at half staff in his honor. Rio Rancho has a reputation as one of the safest cities to live in the state. The chief says this shooting doesn't change that.
It's my understanding is that the offenders may have came here just for that reason, is they didn't have any other place to do any more crime in Albuquerque without being known.
Police Chief Geyer says career criminals target Rio Rancho because it has a small police force, but he says he has a strong department that is ready to protect the community.
And remember to stay with News 13 for continuing coverage of Officer Benner's death. You can find up-to-the-minute information over on our KRQE News app. We turn now to this. At least 30 people are dead after strong storms moved through Mexico, Oklahoma, and Texas. News 13 is alert among those still missing an Albuquerque man and his family. Ralph Carey owned a vacation home in Wimberley. That's about 35 miles southwest of Austin. This is the home, one of many swept away by that Blanco River that was really swelled over the weekend. Witnesses reported seeing the house pushed off its foundation and smashed right into a bridge. And as we continue seeing more images like this, help from those dealing with the flood-ravaged areas in Texas is coming from across the country, including some New Mexicans.
So much damage. And Catherine Mazzone is in the Newsplex with more on what they're doing. Catherine?
That's right, Adam. While the rain is stopping for some areas, though briefly, Texas Governor Greg Abbott is warning residents that floodwaters are still rising in other areas. Meanwhile, some are working to clean up what's left behind. But one Red Cross volunteer from New Mexico says Texans are taking it in stride.
They're just so helpful to us. It's almost like, they're out there and their house is water sitting in their yard, in their backyard. And they had no complaints, no whining. They just said, well, what can we do to help you?
Nancy Gardner is a Red Cross volunteer from Espanola. She says she's been on many deployments, but it's never easy. She has to be flexible and willing to wear many hats. But she says she's happy to help alongside folks from across the country.
I've been doing it a long time, and it is always, it's always a delight to be able to represent New Mexico, and especially northern New Mexico.
We caught up with Gardner as she was heading south to another deployment from Wichita Falls. The Red Cross has also sent an emergency truck to Austin, Texas. Adam, back to you.
Catherine, thanks. President Obama is now offering federal assistance to those residents in Texas. Violence erupts in a Chicago neighborhood, and police are now searching for the gunman who opened fire after an argument.
That shooting, all caught on camera. Take a look at this. After what appears to be an argument between 2 men, one man pulls out a gun, fires 5 shots. He fires 3 more shots before hopping in a car, then taking off. Luckily, no one was hurt in all of this. Police do not believe the gunman was the only one shooting, though. This all happened Memorial Day weekend, which was especially violent in Chicago. Police say 56 people were shot, 12 of them died.